Right, so one of the ways you can tell something is real food is if there are bugs that love it, if there are okay, hold on, because there's some things that bugs love that we don't necessarily love, like trash. I don't think trash is food, but the bugs are there to break down whatever trash is left over. We'll go with birds. All right, so birds, I have seen them not eat things that I was eating. I would throw it on the ground for them to eat, they would avoid it. I have seen them eat things that I was eating. And I said, okay, well, there seems to be some kind of pattern here. And I think what it is they know what's food and what isn't food. All right. And so the birdies, they're not going to eat what ain't food. All right. You don't typically see too many birds digging in the trash can. They're usually digging in trying to find worms and this kind of thing. And you can eat worms. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't suggest it. But yeah, usually these animals will kind of surround themselves or surround you with themselves, if you got some actually real legit food. Now, I had some trout a couple weeks ago because Trader Joe's sells this trout, and you can get like 4 pieces, like for $8.99. They're like, it's like smoked trout, like they do the smoked salmon, and the flies just weren't into it. I said, what's really going on? What is this food? What's going on? So I didn't have any problem with the olives and that kind of thing, but the flies just weren't into it. And maybe I was just in a park that didn't have too many flies or something, but I just found that weird. So anyway, yeah, lately I've kind of been on this food kick. And I think it's for a couple of reasons. I think when you start to have health issues and that kind of thing, you start looking for alternative methods to heal. One of the big healing methods is fasting and diet. That is something that God has given us to help us, if we're dealing with any kind of illness. When I was dealing with cancer when I first came to God, He said, fast for 3 days, meditate on the word day and night, pray incessantly, help this woman that needs some help. And I think that was it. And, after that, after you fast, you can eat all sorts of foods. It's impossible. Don't have a hamburger after a fast. Don't even think about it. You're going to be sick. And I think the reason that is because it's just, number one, the meat's not the best. Number two, it's hard for your body to digest meat versus fruits and vegetables. So if you fast, it's always great to have some tea and some fruits and vegetables rather than, a hearty meal, right? So I just made this video on a dip. Some of these dips that be coming up on Instagram, I'll be like, y'all is creative. Like, and they're so easy to make. That's what attracts me to them. I don't like anything that's too complicated to make. Like, I went to this, what are they? Well, it's a Kenyan restaurant because it's based off this woman's husband, but she's from somewhere in the Middle East. And so they have these like Kenyan dishes like sambusas and that, but then they have these dates, and literally all they did was take a date, cut it in half like hot dog, like the end is still intact, but it's just, you can fit something in it, and they just put almonds and pistachios in it. And I said, this is really good, and it's really simple, and if you ever have like a party, you can bring something like this to a party, and it won't break the bank, because she actually used almond slivers. So you can buy almond slivers in bulk usually, and they're pretty cheap. They might cost you like $9.99 a pound, but you don't need a whole pound. You might need like a quarter of a pound at the most, so it might be like $2.50. And then you have your dates. Your dates might be a little bit more, but I found dates at Trader Joe's for like $3. I think they were. It was either $3 or $4. So these are easy things to make, They're unique things to make as well. So, and I think they're healthy things too. Now, the dip that I made, it was literally just like thyme, parsley, olive oil, had some sun-dried tomatoes, some olive tapenade in it. And, it turned out pretty well. I liked it. It was only about $5, $4 or $5 to make the dip all together. And it's something that's healthy. When you put those herbs in it, like parsley and thyme, you're helping your body cleanse. Parsley is one of the strongest cleansing herbs. I remember being in I was in Bentonville, Arkansas, and that's where the Walmart headquarters is. Now, these Walmarts aren't your run around Walmarts, all right? This is the home office area. And so they do a little something extra, all right? You can find seeded grapes there and all sorts of organic fruits and vegetables. If you're going to eat fruits and vegetables, it's best to eat like farm fruits and vegetables, like straight from the farm, like at a farmer's market, or organic, all right? And still make sure that you're washing your fruits and vegetables, because they still can put pesticides and that kind of thing on it. So I had this parsley. Now, this was a good 6 years ago, all right? It was around the time of COVID. That parsley, the way that the light flooded my body when I ate it, I can't forget it. 6 years ago, and I'm still talking about this parsley from Walmart in Bentonville, Arkansas. That's crazy. So, parsley, when it's organic and fresh, it is a blood cleanser. In fact, if you took a cup of dirty water, and you put some parsley in it, it can actually cleanse a cup of water. Same thing with colloidal silver. And actually, I was in the same place in, I think this was Fayetteville, which is like the city that's right next to Bentonville. So I was there. And I had some colloidal silver. I think this one, I don't know, was it Silver Wings? I don't remember. But I actually thought about buying some silver recently, because you literally can just soak silver in water and you have a remedy. All right. So I took some drops. This girl had an ear infection. I took some drops of the colloidal silver, I think like 2 or 3, put it in her ear, then put it in the other ear. And, I left for a month. I came back. And she's like, "Hey, you're the girl that gave me the drops in my ear." I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't barely remember." But she remembered. Why? Because it actually cured her ear infection after a day. So, God has given us all these amazing things on the earth. I keep praying to Him about the book of Noah, which is, God gave Noah a book of healing, and a lot of it's like natural. Well, I don't want to say a lot of it. All of it's natural healing mechanisms, herbal healing, and all this kind of stuff. Now, I advise people, because what can happen is people will just start trying this and trying that and trying that, and they're not consulting God. And so they don't actually get any healing because they're not taking the right things. So recently, I had an experience when I was overseas in Ecuador. Back of my neck was hurting. I don't know what's going on in these countries, but I was like, is the ozone layer open? Like, is there a portal? What's going on? Like, it just felt so heavy, and the back of my neck was just like hurting the whole time. There's so much witchcraft going on, I think. This Quetzalcoatl stuff, like this flying serpent that these people worship, I really think it has something to do with that. I mean, I know the flying serpent is a fallen angel, but I think there's some kind of matrix over these places that's making it very hard in these days to stay in these places. So I went to go get some mint, because I love me some mint tea. I've been to Morocco. I love Morocco. I went to Marrakesh. I went to Chefchaouen. And I have affinity for like Muslim culture, Middle Eastern culture, because I love their community-oriented attitudes. Now, to be real, Yahushua HaMashiach, is king. All right, guys. But they be doing it right when they do the community stuff and caring for their brothers and even caring for people that aren't even their brothers. Because I went to look for someone the other day at the Muslim temple because one of the girls that, I'm cool with, she's Muslim. And I haven't seen her in a little bit. And so I went to go ask the folks at this temple. And they're like, oh, no, we haven't seen her. Like, they were so helpful. And they're like, oh, you want to come in? I'm like, oh, no, it's okay. Would they do that at a church? They got security locked down at the church on 10. I literally got snatched up one time when I was going into a church. I thought the lady was security. She wasn't. She was an usher. Okay, so... there's this fear in these churches because they really ain't doing what's right. And the Muslims, they're putting their trust in Allah or whatever, so I don't think they're so much as fearful. But anyway, I have affinity for that culture. And so, the hospitality that these folks showed me when I was in Morocco, I was like, wow, this is awesome. One girl, she just... didn't want anything. She didn't want anything. She was just like, can I help you find your hostel? And just big smile on her face. I was like, this is what we should be. Yeah, okay. But these food places, just delicious, just made with love, and so they have this mint tea that they serve you. Because you get like a full meal at these restaurants. And ain't a little bit of something. It's like a whole full meal. So they'll give you, dessert. And they'll give you a drink and tea. And then you also get your main meal. And so I love the mint tea. It's just so good. So I went to the store to get some mint tea. Ended up getting the wrong thing. Got some Louisa. I said, who Louisa? I don't know that girl. And so what ended up happening is I'm like, well, I don't want to go all the way back there. I'm tired. My neck hurts, all this. And so I ended up boiling it. I boiled it. What was the other thing I got? I think I got some lemongrass because I was making some Thai green curry. That's one of my favorite foods is Thai green curry. Like, you can't tell me it's not made with love. But, I boiled it with some lemongrass. Just a little bit. I didn't have a lot left. And I drank it. And the pain in my neck went away. So this Louisa, I looked it up. And there was a girl on YouTube. And she was saying how, she had all this pain since she was a child. And she found out she got bit by a tick. And the tick gave her Lyme disease. And so she stumbled upon Louisa, which is also known as lemon balm, all right? And a lot of doctors suggest this for sleep and that kind of thing. And she said she took it and her pain went away. She was like 20 years in pain and it was gone. And speaking of that, I just saw another girl on YouTube. And what's funny is I buy these herbs for my hair. So I would love to have super long hair, personally. I don't have super long hair yet, but it's long-ish. It's a little past my shoulders right now. And, I think they really help for just keeping your hair fresh and helping your hair grow and that kind of thing. And so I've been doing something called hair tea, and it's basically rosemary. I put chamomile in it. I might put some essential oil like eucalyptus, tea tree, or lavender. And then also, what else do I put in there? Slippery elm. So slippery elm is a type of bark, and you can put it in your shampoos or your conditioners or your leave-ins or whatever, and it's going to help you comb through your hair. It has slip to it. It's the slip that helps you comb through your hair because it seeps into your knots and then you're able to comb it and that kind of thing. So I've been making that. I decided to add stinging nettle to it. And I said, well, I think I saw somewhere that this helps. I mean, I just remember it being at the herbal store. And I'm like, well, it is at the herbal store. I can try it. And so, this girl, she said she had pain since a child. And I think she's like 44 now. And I think she said around 31, she ended up what did she do? She made some tea, and then she was just looking like around, and she found stinging nettle, and she said, oh, well, I can use that for my hair. So she started using that for her hair. Well, she said, well, since I made tea yesterday, I heard that you can drink stinging nettle tea. So she ended up drinking the stinging nettle tea, and it heals her of her pain that she had from a child. So you cannot tell me that God is not in the mix. He's in the mix. He's in the midst. And everything that we have, everything that we need is right here on the earth. It's just a matter of, are you going to try it? But this is the thing. Constantly trying things and constantly trying things, like, for me, it did not work. I happened to pray about it, and then God sent me this Louisa, and it took the pain out of my neck. And this lady is also a believer in Christ. And she, I don't know if she prayed about it or not, but I do think that God still, gives remedies and these kinds of things. It's reminding me of Revelation, where it talks about the leaves on the tree to heal the nations. Now, I believe that is also talking about the tree of life, but you can also apply that to herbs and these kinds of things. It's just a matter of, don't get to the point where you're using them to replace God. And that's the issue with a lot of people. They want the easy way. Everybody wants the easy way. And sometimes it's not so easy to pray to God and ask and wait on an answer. All right? It's easier just to go to the store and look up reviews and say, oh, will this work for this? Not a bad thing. But sometimes what's working for them is not necessarily going to work for you. And that's kind of what I've realized over the past year. It's like, I've tried this herb, and I went to get the mint, and the mint didn't work, or it wouldn't have worked, but the Louisa worked after I prayed and asked God, what is it that I need to take? So I would have never done that, because first off, I don't really like the taste of lemongrass, and lemon balm is a very similar taste. It's got that lemony taste, and same thing with lemon eucalyptus. I'm not a huge like that, but I will take it, to be healed and that kind of thing. Janaima, for those of y'all that are dealing with like diabetes, this right here was suggested by a Christian man that owns a health food store in Kansas City, Missouri. And I tried it. I was having swelling in my liver and everything, and I literally 5 seconds into taking that herb, the swelling in my liver went down. So I'm gonna repeat that, because a lot of people ask the name. It's very different. Janaima, like Jim and then Nama, Jymnema, Janaima. So this is very helpful for diabetes. I know it from my own experience. But let's also realize that a lot of the reason why we're having health issues is because we are far off from God, and we need things to be ironed out by Him. We might need to repent. Spray my mosquito spray. And so, we need to be asking Him what exactly it is the remedy for us. Now, this mosquito spray is actually mosquito and tick spray. Tick spray because I put thyme in it, Thyme. And then, what's the other thing that I put in it that's good for for ticks? I can't remember, but there's 2 ingredients in there that are good for ticks. And then you got your lemon eucalyptus in there. I think I put some geranium in there, which is good for mosquitoes. Some lavender. I think I put a little tea tree, a little eucalyptus. I put a lot of things in there. You don't need tons of stuff. Really, you could buy some lemongrass essential oil or lemon eucalyptus, and you'll actually be pretty good. But, I like to make unique scents with my mosquito sprays, and plus it's also a tick spray, so it counts for both. Oh, that's what it is. It's balsam, I think. So that's good for ticks as well. And it smells really good. I didn't think balsam would smell that good. I'm obsessed now. But yeah, I don't know. There's just so many remedies out here. My suggestion is you start using them, because what we're taking, all these medicines, it's actually mentioned in Galatians 5, all right, that the medicines and the drugs is actually sorcery. And so a lot of you guys are not getting healthy, you're not getting better, because you're literally putting sorcery in your body. And you also have to watch what you eat as well, because some of the food has sorcery in it as well. I've eaten food and I have literally felt the serpent wrapping up my spine, and God told me to rebuke it, and it came right off of my spine. It was from something that I ate. So, this is also why we pray over our food, but to be real, sometimes that doesn't help either. And I'm going to tell you why, because the poison is too strong at that point for you to do anything. And this is from my experience with what God has told me. A lady, she tried to give me a banana. God had told me the day before, do not take any food from anyone. If God is telling me not to take any food from anyone, if I took food from this person and prayed over it, it doesn't matter what I prayed. He told me not to take it, all right? And so I have to follow what he says in that instance. That's following his commandments, all right? Not a law, a commandment. He audibly spoke, said, don't take any food from anyone, gave me a command, and if I wouldn't have followed it, I don't know what would have happened. So you have to be listening for the command of God as well. So anyway, I think that's all I really have to say. I think we're just in the time where God is trying to bring us to a place of health and healing. I don't know how you guys do it sometimes, you Christian at these breakfast restaurants, but given some of y'all's doctrines, y'all ain't growing in knowledge and truth of God. And so what might be blocking you is your health, all right? What's going on with the heart, what's going on with the health, these kinds of things. So, eating all this bacon and y'all be like, I'm gonna eat some bacon wrapped shrimp and some ham and I'm gonna throw it back in your face. And I'm like, y'all are not doing yourself justice doing that kind of stuff, because that's really not the spirit that God desires. But that's up to you if you want to act that way. I can just tell you that's not what he desires. And in these last days, you definitely want to be careful about what you're doing and what you're saying and that kind of thing, because it's going to come back on you very quickly. Now, in the time of grace and mercy during the Day of Atonement, maybe not so much, but we're in the day of judgment. So you got to watch what you're doing, what you're saying, all that kind of stuff, sir. So yeah, real talk. Try something new. Some of y'all are on antidepressants. Rhodiola was amazing for me. Bacopa. Actually, this wonderful oil. All right? This is called hemp seed oil. And I haven't been back to Ohio in like 5 years or something. The last time I tried it was around that time. I didn't really need it because it didn't have much anxiety, because my obedience to God was it was very on point. When you're very obedient to God, what you're not struggling between two mindsets. Your mind is focused on God. So there's not this thing trying to pull you this direction. You're like, I don't know where to go. Oh, maybe I'll go. I don't know. No, we're going God's direction. And here's the problem, people don't understand with anxiety. It's double-mindedness. You get anxious because you feel like you're not as pretty as the next girl. Well, guess what? God said you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and great are his works. Psalms 139:14, shouted from the hills, all right? So, if you're over here believing that you're not fearfully and wonderfully made, you start comparing yourself to other people and that kind of stuff, you're going to have this mental struggle that's going to go on. The little devil on this shoulder and then the little angel on this shoulder. And it's like, I don't know what to believe. Now I'm just anxious. I have to pick something. Well, pick the angel, all right? Pick that. Believe that you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And that's just like an example, right? It can be anything. But so I didn't really have too much struggles with anxiety at that point, but I could notice the calming effect of the hemp oil. So this stuff is amazing. I haven't tried this specific brand, taking it. You just take like a spoonful. I think the brand that I got was out of Whole Foods, and it's a little bit more pricey. I think it was like $13.99 at the time. This is only $5.99. Boop, only $5.99. And I got it from Hobby Lobby like 2 days ago. But the real reason I got it was mostly for my hair, because it's one of these oils, just like coconut oil and jojoba oil, that can seep into the hair shaft. And this is much lighter, but it's lighter, but it has like a really like lasting oily feel, and it makes your skin very soft. It makes oops, man down. No, I'm just kidding. It makes your hair really soft. See, these ants are trying to get into my wine, which tells me everything that I need to know. Is this an organic product? I think it is. That's why they say, hey, can we have a swig? Y'all need to go home, ants. You're drunk. you need to calm down. But yeah, because it's not gonna affect me as much as it's gonna affect y'all. I know you can lift like 200 times your size, but believe me, alcohol, I feel like that when I'm on some alcohol. So you might start trying to lift like 5,000 pounds, ants. Y'all need to calm down. But anyway, hemp seed oil, great for your hair, great for your skin. I put some on today. Now, for reference, I'm 40. Everybody thinks I'm in my late 20s. I mean, I act like it and I feel like it. I don't really feel like I'm 40. And sometimes I remind myself like, oh, I'm 40. Like, I'm like halfway through my life, if not, less, which causes me to really appreciate life more, because we kind of get this mentality that's just going to go on forever. That's not how it is. And I look at some of these older people and, around like 30, life starts going real fast. Like, I became a believer in Christ at 30. I never thought I would be 10 years into, following Christ. I never thought that. And here I am. So, you have to appreciate every day that God has given you, because it really is a blessing. And, I'm not a believer that we're going to die and live on forever. And that also gives me perspective, right? Because, that's what they tell you in the Catholic Church. You're going to die and then you're just going to go to heaven or hell. I know. Heaven or hell are places, right here on earth. When that Messiah comes and he says, repent for the kingdom of heaven draw near, it wasn't coming at a later time after you die. It was coming then. And so why wouldn't hell be coming as well? And he also talks about how some people will awaken to hell in that. So, it makes you count your blessings, that's for sure. And so you have to have appreciation for God, which is also healing. But anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent, but I don't think these things are by coincidence either, because sometimes people on the other end need to heal these things. So, but yeah, hemp seed oil, good for anxiety and depression. It's made from the cannabis sativa hemp seed oil, which that might be why, but they say it doesn't have any THC in it, because cannabis sativa, I'm pretty sure there's 2 of them that people smoke for hallucinogenic effects, and Cannabis sativa is one of them. And I think that's the downer one. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all potheads out there. I'm just kidding. You're more than a pothead. Understand that. God has life for you. I've smoked pot. I've done hallucinogens. I've done LSG. I've done LSD. I've done shrooms. I did white chuma. I did all sorts of stuff. And, the greatest thing I ever did in my life, though, was coming to God and prayer. All right, and fasting. Prayer can have such a toll on you at times. No, I don't want to say that. Not a toll. Prayer can have such a I don't know. It can be very powerful is what I'm trying to say. All right. I had one time where I prayed and I felt the Spirit come through my head and through my body, and it lit up everything that was unhealed in me. All right. Healed it. There's something stabbing me. And then went back up out of my body, back to God. All right. This is real. This is real stuff. And I think what it is people are trying their best to experience the peace of God without coming to God in fullness, in spirit and in truth. And it's kind of a sad place to be, but when you are surrounded by propaganda concerning the church, which some of this propaganda is true, to be real. Some of it's true. You're not going to want to come. All right. I had all these people talking in my head, and they were basically like, hey, look, what's that one show that came out on Netflix? Zeitgeist. All right. Zeitgeist is one of the propaganda that's there to discredit the way. It's really called The Way, the Truth, and the Life. And so I believed it. And then I went down the New Age route. New Ageism, when you come to the knowledge of the truth, it is literally, it's Satanism, all right? As Anton LaVey, the Satanist, the founder of the Satanic Church, all right, said about New Ageism, give us our religion back. It's nothing but Satanism in a pretty bow. And I remember when, I think I was in Malaysia at the time, I was at a Buddhist retreat. And I think I was talking to some New Age girl. I don't even know if it was a human, to be honest. And I had asked her a question. I was trying to inquire of her, and she was being so vague. I didn't understand what she was saying. And then she said something like, oh, it'll come to you. You'll find it out. And so I said, well, hopefully it comes to me. I don't know what it is, but it's not come to me yet. And you're not giving me any answers. All of this is vague. Oh, maybe I'm just not spiritual enough. All that kind of stuff. When you come to God, He answers your questions. He gives you understanding. He gives you knowledge. He gives you truth. He gives you wisdom. It's not jumping through hoops. It's not vague. All right. Now, there are things that are mysteries of God that are revealed if you ask God and if you just come to the understanding because He's brought you to that place. It's not a mystery like, oh, you'll understand one day. No, that's not how the Most High is. We have so much darkness in us because we have no knowledge and understanding and wisdom of God. I literally accidentally got high one day. It was for real an accident. I was not trying to get high. I took the cookie off of somebody's table I was cleaning for. All right, because in my head, I justified it as, well, I'm the house cleaner. They probably left a little bit of cookies for me. Why not? I had a problem with gluttony. So I'm like, this is my way of justifying taking this cookie off somebody's table. So Took the cookie, started having heart palpitations, and I said, "What's going on? Like I have not had anxiety, in the longest time." And what ended up happening was I looked around the house. I saw a Wu-Tang poster there. I saw a hash poster there, and I said, "I just ate a pot cookie." And I said, "Oh no, Lord, please protect me." I started praying. I was like, "I can't do this." And so I turned on the Psalms, all right, on my audio Bible. I kid you not, the Psalms were like, I was asking these questions like in my spirit, and the Psalms were literally answering them. I said, I must really be high, or this is the truth. But what it is it's the truth. The word is the light, all right? All this stuff you have in you, your anxiety and your depression and all that kind of stuff, is because of darkness, all right? So when you get the word of light in you, and what's the light? The word. All right? I kid you not. I had a dream. Well, yeah, was it a dream? I don't know. God gave me this word amorphism, and I found out 2 days ago that morphe means to be with form. And so I looked up amorphism. This was like 3 years ago. And it means to be without form and void. And I said, well, that sounds familiar. And then I fell back asleep, and he woke me back up, and he was like, look it up. And so I said, well, it sounds like Genesis. In the beginning, the earth was without form and void. And so I felt this, like, he said another word to me, and I felt this flash of light, like right here in my core, and it flooded all throughout my body. And the rest of it goes, and then God spoke, and there was light. And so it's like his word is literally light. I need for y'all to meditate on that and comprehend it. This word has the frequency of the original light. It is the original light. It is light. It created what we know as light as well, like the sun and that kind of thing. So, we have to get the word in us as well so that we can be free of sickness and disease. And we have to believe it. I even find myself lately not believing in some of the word, because it's almost like something inside of me wants to like rationalize everything and this. And I said, I know this is not of God. So I've started praying against it. But that's the problem with a lot of folks, all right? They ain't praying against that rationalization. This is why science is playing such a big role in anti-Christhood, because everything comes from the rational. I don't want to say everything, but a lot of science comes from man trying to rationalize, these things in nature that came from God and that. And so, they deny God. I'm sorry. I'm looking at these ants. I thought they were dead. I guess they're not dead. Maybe they're just full or something. I don't know. They're enjoying their meal. That's for sure. I ain't trying to kill no ants. They're just one of the most innocent creatures on this earth. Aside from the red ant, they ain't too innocent. I just avoid them. But, yeah, when we get in that mentality, we start to deny God. And that's where Satan wants us. He wants us rationalizing everything, but we have to understand the Spirit goes where it wills, right? You can't lean on your own understanding. That's exactly why that's said. And that's exactly why the Pharisees ended up in the spot that they were in, because they started to get too wise in their own minds. Letters, books. There wasn't any, ministering on to the Lord that was really happening, so that he could show you, give you understanding and all that kind of stuff, lead you and that. And I think that comes from man getting comfortable with what's around them, all right? There's the Mufasa movie that came out, I think it was 2024, and I went to go see it because I know Mufasa is about Melchizedek, basically. So I went to see it, and there's a part in the movie where one of the good lions, his wife comes to him, and he's like, you need to You guys need to get up. There's adverse lions that are coming. And they're like, oh, well, you know how men are. We don't actually move until war is right there in our presence. And what happened? After the warning, they ended up getting wiped out by the adverse lions because, you didn't listen. You didn't listen. You were being lazy, all right, is what it is. You got comfortable. And so, unfortunately, the enemy took you out. So, Satan is like that adverse lion that comes to devour. He wants to make you lazy. He wants to make you lean on your own understanding. All right. He wants to make you feel like you're smarter than what you are so that you feel like you don't need God. I mean, I've heard people that speak godly knowledge, right? But then straight up get upset when you start talking about God. Where do you think that knowledge comes from? Where do you think that the human psyche comes from? Where do you think that DNA comes from? It didn't come from you. It didn't come from science. And please prove to me at this point that an atom is sentient. All right? How can a non-sentient thing make a whole sentient being? I need y'all to understand we have the capability to think. And act on those thoughts, all right? And put things in a parameter. This is good, this is bad. Like, you're trying to tell me that an atom, just one atom and maybe a few atoms, and then all these atoms together are just like randomly put together and created a being that can do such things. Have you seen DNA? Anyway, don't get me started. So people are too wise in their own minds, and they end up denying God and that kind of thing. So, I don't know what to tell them. I'm noticing a pattern, especially with the European countries, and some of their gods are fallen angels. The Greeks, the Romans, the Englishmen, all right, fallen angel lineage with a lot of them. And this is why a lot of these wars won't stop. And it's not only them. You have a lot of East Asian countries as well, where they say that they're descendants of the dragons and the fairies. At this point, I'm taking you seriously when you say those kinds of things, all right? I'm taking you seriously. And I don't want to say it's everyone, all right? Because I do think that there are pure people from every land. But I believe that a lot of people, like someone told me years ago, they think 70% of the population is actually Nephilim. I said, no way, it can't be that. That's a lot. That's like 70 people out of 100, and we have 100 billion people on the earth. I don't know how many people on the earth, but it would be a lot of people. But we're talking Nephilim bloodlines. You can be like 5% to like 50%, maybe even 85%, 75% if you have a fully Nephilim. I don't know. Anyway, we're not worried about the math too much. But, I think that this is part of the reason why we're having so many problems on Earth. Because we're dealing with these Nephilim bloodlines. They literally don't have the capability to have peace. All right, and they literally have a hatred for mankind, for Adam. They do. And so we keep falling into their little traps. All right, I'm thinking about things a lot myself, and when I first came to God, I was very obedient and trying to do whatever it is that He wanted me to do. And one of the things I noticed is just the cruelty that I would receive from people that were working in the mall. It felt like I'm not supposed to be here, right? And so now I'm starting to think, I don't know if we are supposed to be there. I don't know if we're supposed to be so wrapped up into like shopping and that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't shop at all, but people almost make it like a hobby or like a pastime type deal. I don't think that's what God has called for us, all right? I think He's called us to do exceedingly and abundantly greater than those kinds of things. And so that's kind of what Matthew 6 talks about. It talks about how the things that the nations worry about, they worry about food, they worry about clothing, basically the seven deadly sins. That's what the nations worry about. And so, us as believers, I think we're supposed to retract from these things of the world, and we're basically supposed to just worship Him in spirit and in truth, and that's it. That's what this whole walk is about, and I believe that it's about doing what He initially called us to do from the beginning. I think Adam, the plan for Adam was to serve God, and he would do that by taking care of creation, and that also includes, man, taking care of mankind, and that kind of thing. But we've fallen away from that. That's why he said, in order to heal your cancer, you're going to need to go help that woman over there that's hungry. I said, what? But I did it. I did everything that he told me to do, and he healed me of cancer. So, and I was even thinking today, there was a young man, and he had his pants hanging off of his waist. And I wanted to be like, sir, pull your pants up. And then I was like, is this the most important thing for this man to pull his pants up? Or should I approach him in a different way? Maybe see what's going on with him, what's going on with his soul. These kinds of things. Then slip in the little part about how, sagging pants is what they did in the prison, right? Educate him a little bit. And I said, because how can we get to where we're going, without these other people coming along as well? And it reminded me of a story that I heard about some kids in Africa. I don't remember where they were from, but a missionary or somebody had went there. And these missionaries seem to have the same experiences. They go to try to teach people about God, and then they end up getting taught by God in places like Zimbabwe. They end up getting taught because the God that you speak of is the Roman Christian God. He's not, this is the God that Constantine made, and you guys keep repeating it. But the true God, all right? There's no security guards outside of the church. God is the security, all right? So anyway, this missionary, I guess he wants to play a game with these kids. And so he says, the first to the tree. I'm sorry, I can't even explain how I'm remembering all this stuff right now. But the first to the tree wins. So normally what American kids would do, probably start boasting a little bit, probably start crapping on everybody around them real quick. I'm a win, you suck at running, like this kind of stuff. These kids took each other by the hand and they all ran to the tree together. And the missionary was dumbfounded, like, what just happened? Like, this ain't the way I played. No, it's not. And so he asked them why they did that. And they said, well, if we all make it to the tree, then we all win. Come on. All right? There's too many people out here that are like, I want the yacht, I want the gold, I want the money, and I have to squish everybody down in order to get it. I gotta colonize Africa, and why do I feel like, well, I guess Mexico and South America got colonized too, and like the Philippines, and Caribbean got colonized, North America, but so these folks don't really have the concept of holding hands and everybody will win. It don't feel like that with the European nations. Everything is a freaking war. Everything is a freaking war with China, right? Y'all are always starting wars. It's like the same people. And it's the same people that seem to associate themselves with dragons and fallen angels. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, there was a man on, I think he was on LinkedIn, and he was talking about the Nilotic people, how the Nile or Nilo comes from Italy, and then Tik comes from like Greece or something. And I said, all right, well, that's obviously not an African word, but a man, a European man gets on there, Von Haas or something like that, and he's like, oh, these people need to build up their economies. And I said, sir, you guys want people to build up their economies for you, for your comfort. These people have been living comfortably. As he said that they were the A haplotype, right? A haplotype is the second oldest haplotype in the world. It's next to 00, which is like the Khoisan. At least science says that. I don't know if it's true or not. But you want these people to stop basically living the life that God has offered for humans, to buy into your system where you can't stop killing, stealing, and destroying people. These Nilotics don't seem to be hurting nobody at this point. I mean, they might have been in the day because these are your Egyptians and that kind of thing. But they're living off the land. They're getting their food off the land. They're building huts from the land. Like, they're not doing all the stupid stuff that y'all are doing. They don't need technology to live, you fool. But this is the mentality of these people. All they can think about is themselves. And so they've fallen so far away from the truth of God. And when you're this far away, it's very hard to get back. Like, you need a miracle, sir, at this point. But can you? Were you ever there? That's the thing. Are you really descendants of the Nephilim? Anyway, I'm going to pray real quick. I think that's the end of the conversation. So, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thank you for just bringing me out here into nature. I said I used to be a camp counselor, and I used to be in nature all the time, and bugs didn't bother me, and I feel like things have just changed so much. But thank you for bringing me out here today and reminding me, of the goodness of the sun and of the grass and of the trees and all these things that you have given us and given me, Father. I just really appreciate it. Let us return to your kingdom. Let us return to your garden always, Heavenly Father, and let us be in oneness with you, Father. We pray that in your heavenly name, Yahweh. Amana. Y'all be blessed and have a good day. We'll see you later. Bye.